Well, it's now just turned to March 20th here as I sit bored in the truck. So, I want to talk about China being in Canada here. We just discovered 2 more secret Chinese police stations in Montreal. Oh, the RCMP are investigating those as well. One has to wonder, how long do you have to investigate a foreign power, aggressive foreign powers, having police stations on your land illegally? How long do we investigate this? Well, this is Canada today. But let's step back a minute and take a look at Russia. You know, Trudeau tried to make Russia look like they were behind the trucker convoy. Well, that didn't fly very far. Bottom line is, Russia went broke. Chernobyl, 1986. It destroyed them financially. And the USSR ceased to exist. And the Cold War ended. Russia was broke. Now, the mainstream media in North America gives us a lot of propaganda. Well, it's not propaganda, it's disinformation about what's truly happening with the conflict between, I think I can say, Russia and its neighboring country. I'm not supposed to talk on this subject matter on YouTube, but anyways, I am. Biden said he'd turn the ruble into rubble. Quite predictably, I could see it coming. And I just have a grade 9 education. I'm not an economist or anything. The exact opposite happened. The rubles gained in value. They became trading partners with China and India and a host of other economic players over on that side of the world. So, anyways, we'll leave Russia now and move to China, the theme of the whole thing. World's largest standing army, openly stated aggressive on a global level, and most of the world, and certainly North America, stupidly played into their hands economically for decades now, buying their junk. Yeah, good thinking there. So now China is the world power player in military aggression. And I don't mean militarily just in their standing army and all of the aircraft carriers and battleships they've been building with their openly stated aggression in the Asian Pacific Ocean. Yeah, they're the red threat now on a global level, and nobody denies it. Look at this recent AUKUS meeting that Canada wasn't invited to, and neither was New Zealand. So just the UK, Australia, and the United States. And they've committed what must be trillions of dollars into nuclear submarines, all kinds of stuff. Because what China wants in the Asia-Pacific Ocean is clearly stated. No one denies it. Little known fact, America has been paying for the entire Japanese Navy in the Pacific area there through this weird bond deal and stuff. I won't get into the details, because China, like Australia, like Taiwan, like all of the small nation islands over there, are terrified of the blatant Chinese aggression. And we, Canada, Trudeau, firmly in bed with them, undeniably. I mean, he can't even begin to deny. He doesn't even try to, really, the Chinese electoral influence. We know we have these illegal Chinese police stations operating here. We know they've been performing military maneuvers here. And as I've said before, we've sold them a lot of our precious mineral resources. I don't mean just gold and silver. And that Trudeau has allowed them to guard their business interests in any fashion they want without informing our nation in any sense of the word. So now we move to how and why are the WEF and China playing ball together? This would seem, you would think they'd be at odds with each other, but they're not. If you go to the WEF website, you'll see China as the nation and a lot of China corporations, which, come now, they're a communist country. It's all one and the same. Might say corporate, but it might as well say country of or military. It's all one and the same. They're a communist country. My roommate John can't get his head around this. I've tried to explain it to him. It's kind of your enemy is my enemy. That old saying. That's why the WEF and China are in alliance. Now, they don't have the same official pact monetarily as what China and Russia, India, and some others have. But again, you go to the WEF and you're going to see a lot of China saturated all through the WEF. You won't see so many Chinese faces on the board of directors and stuff, blah, blah, blah. But if you go into all the subcategories, China, 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 they're there everywhere. Now, why is this? Here I push the bounds of censorship, but at this point, who cares, I suppose. The WEF's openly stated mass migration policies are destroying, literally destroying, the European countries and the UK countries. This is undeniable. See Jordan Peterson if you don't believe me, he'll tell you. Well, that works for the WEF quite well in their short-term plans, their 15-minute cities, the whole social control thing, you'll eat bugs and be happy. But I don't think what the WEF realizes is China's power and long-term plans. Again, I've explained this to John. I said, well, China is quite happy excuse me, in the short term, years, I'm talking, to let the WEF and their global elitist program take over Europe and the UK and Africa. Again, I got to get to Africa as a series of subtopic or videos. But anyways, quite happy to let them do that in the short term, years, but not decades. And Africa is pretty much burnt out. You know what I mean? A lot of their resources have already been pillaged. So they don't really care about Africa at the moment either. Their objective is the South Pacific and the Asia-Pacific Ocean, that area, all of the resources there. South America can languish for the moment in both the WEF and in particular in China's mind. And China's objective to ultimately destroy the states is working very well through, well, we'll say, you know, their cyber war and this pact with Russia and India, making them an economic power and the states losing the position of world economic power. So China's quite happy to let WEF have their plans in their parts of the world, because ultimately, now this is where I really risk the censorship, so I'll have to be careful. Ultimately, the WEF's mass migration plan leads ultimately to social chaos, because, ultra careful here, that one particular faith always leads to social anarchy. The Chinese know that very well. So what the WEF takes over with its mass migration program is designed, not designed, but it is inevitable it will fail. It will crumble into chaos. And at that point, the Chinese, thinking they're going to have their global conquest play well into their control, let's say, be quite easy for them to come in and mop up that chaos. Because let's face it, censorship again, in China, they don't accept that faith at all, right? So I hope that made sense. That's their plan in the big picture. I won't be around at that point. We're moving from years to decades. But yeah, it all comes down to my enemy's your enemy. So I don't know if I made that make sense or not, dodging around the censorship, and I don't know if it's really relevant in any sense other than to come back to Canada and Trudeau being in bed with both the WEF and China. Because again, it would seem that they're not playing together, or why would they? But I didn't summate this up very well, but I think I got my point across.